All right, everybody, we got Dimitri with TreeChat today. We're going to go through all, what's going on with TreeChat and how it works, how you can earn money with Bitcoin and chat with people on chain and retain valuable information, and also potentially have censorship resistant platform, which is something I've been really, really fascinated with. If I could have a platform that's censorship resistant, that would be super valuable. So, what's up, Dimitri? Nice to meet you.
Hey Gavin, nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. So all right. So it looks like you're from out in Massachusetts area in Northeast in New England, right?
Yep.
So what's your story, man? How did you become where you're at right now? I see you're into jujitsu and you got a family and you're really into Bitcoin and building this out. But what's your story?
Yeah, so it depends on really how early you want to start, but I guess a good place to start is with how I discovered Bitcoin. Um, I was basically doing software development, and I actually thanks to my training, or I guess to my education, I was able to catch the white paper, and at first I dismissed it like most people. Everyone, their story starts with, I heard about Bitcoin. I thought it was uh, bullshit or, wouldn't work or whatever. And then, I came back to it a year later, and that's my story also. I think I saw like the price had gone up 10x in the year that I ignored it. And then I was like, oh man, what is going on here? And so I took another look at it. I read the white paper, and I was able to understand, not I would say, enough of it to realize that, oh, this is quite transformational. This is very revolutionary almost. And so I started getting into the Bitcoin kind of ecosystem and reading all the stuff, and started buying a little bit, essentially like taking a little bit from my paycheck and investing it. And so that's kind of like where I started with Bitcoin. And I worked uh, in startups for a while after that, but then at some point, the startup I was working at basically failed, and I had a decision to make whether to, keep working in other people's startups or do my own. And so I actually I decided to do my own thing. I did a startup called Cryptograph, which didn't work out. It's not that it didn't work out, but I was doing Cryptograph. It was a cryptocurrency portfolio tracker, and I had this tool that I had been building from the moment I had really got into software development. The way that I like to learn is I like to do little projects. So I would do a little project to teach myself, to give myself like a deliverable to work on. And so I had built this Chrome extension called Navigator, which was essentially a web clipper. And that was really the birth of TreeChat. And at some point, the ideas behind Navigator were so compelling to me that I ditched my cryptocurrency portfolio tracker. And about 4 years ago, I think it's something like that, I'm bad with time. About 4 years ago, I basically decided to commit to Navigator, which 2 years ago or so became TreeChat. We rebranded as TreeChat. So that's really the story of how TreeChat came about. And TreeChat, essentially, because of my interest in Bitcoin, I was like, all right, well, let's merge everything that I love together into one project, which is like Bitcoin knowledge management, debate, social media. So I just was like, I want to be able to do something that really I'm passionate about, and is that I can derive purpose from. And so that's kind of where we're at now.
Nice. Okay, so it's really good background. So thank you. So it sounds like you from the startups, you went into from startups, then you went back, basically came into Bitcoin. I mean, you kind of left that and came into Bitcoin, and you discovered. I mean, was there any sort of realization about the problem with Bitcoin? I mean, did you run into an issue with it, where you're like, hey, this isn't really working, or was there? I mean, how did that? Because it seems like there's multiple Bitcoins now, and so I'm just like,
Right, right.
how did that?
Right. So
How did you?
yeah, now we're getting into like, BTC versus BSV. So, um, I, I was not that familiar with Bitcoin SV for a little while. I was basically, Bitcoin Core, and I bought that narrative, digital gold, and I I understand that narrative. The problem that I see with it is that if Bitcoin SV didn't exist, then the Bitcoin core narrative would make sense to me. But Bitcoin SV does exist, and so it's like a step up. So like if you have it is a kind of an upgrade to have a digital gold. So if you have a digital gold asset, in my opinion, that is an upgrade over the existing system. But the problem with that is Bitcoin SV doesn't just allow for digital gold, it allows for digital gold that can be transferred peer to peer. And that's the piece that's missing from Bitcoin Core because obviously they put a cap on the block size, and so they only have, 7 transactions per second. So you can't, so in Bitcoin Core, you can't send the reserve asset peer to peer. And so you are required then to have a third party to to make that happen. So to achieve the thing that we really want, which is to send the digital gold to each other without a third party, you need Bitcoin SV with unlimited block size, with extremely cheap fees. And that is a much more revolutionary idea than, just the digital gold idea. And that's what's really that's what at first drew me to Bitcoin SV because I was seeing people build on it. Because if you can send this money around instantly in tiny, tiny amounts, you can build interesting things on top of that. And I saw people doing that, and it was really watching the other builders. I mean, um, you know, people like Unwriter and some of the other like Twetch is another example. All of some of these other apps that were actually doing stuff and not just holding an asset, and that's what drew me to this ecosystem and to this hard fork.
I had a video just recently where it was a conversation with Craig Wright, and it basically talked about how, in the early days of the internet, like the holy grail has always been micropayments, being able to send money on the internet peer to peer. And so it's always been this problem that it has been trying to be solved. Sounds like it's been solved, and but now it's like, well, how do we do it? How do we use it? So is that what TreeChat really is? It's kind of
I think so. Yeah, I think so. So to be maybe diplomatic here, I'm not so ideological that, Bitcoin Core sucks and Bitcoin SV is the best and this chain sucks. Like that's not how really I think about it. I think about it like, hey, what can I build on Bitcoin SV given its capabilities that can't really be built anywhere else? And so once that happens, once you build, such a compelling experience that can't be recreated anywhere else, people will have no choice but to come to this chain. So like I don't really think about price. I don't really think about like, you know, the tribalism of it. I just think like, all right, let's build a really good product with a compelling experience that can only be done here. And if you succeed at that, and that's what I'm trying to do, then people will just come. And so that's kind of what the journey that I'm on, and that's what I'm working on. And I think that you can build a compelling experience with micropayments that can only be done on this chain and with a variety of capabilities that you mentioned. I mean, like earning from your content and having it writing data in a difficult to censor way and owning your own data and all of these things come about because you have such cheap fees on a blockchain, which is what Bitcoin SV offers you.
all right. So this is the homepage that I'm seeing, treechat.ai.
Yep.
Chat with humans and AI, earn Bitcoin SV, discover valuable knowledge, own your own voice on chain, create art if effortlessly, have deep conversations. So, can you walk us through this? If I go back to you on share screen, I'm going to stop my screen share, and then you
Yeah.
could kind of take us through this as you enter in. And uh, yeah, why don't we just start with that? Because it's
Uh, yeah. Do you want me to start
revolutionary.
with the landing page or do you want me to
Yeah,
go?
start with the landing page, please. Where would people go to sign up? If
Yeah.
they wanted to.
Yeah. I think TreeChat AI is the place to go. Um, So yeah, we can just go through each of these and talk about these are good entry points into kind of what we're trying to do. So chat with humans
Okay,
and
share
AI.
your screen. Oh, sorry, I'm not seeing
Oh,
your
sorry,
screen
I'm
yet.
not sharing my screen. My bad. So, shoot.
There's a okay. Now we're on the TreeChat.ai.
Yeah, TreeChat that in. Yep. So chat with humans and AI. So basically, the reason it's called TreeChat.ai is because we have taken all of these AI integrations and we have put them into the tool. And I'll show when I show you the app, you'll see this. But basically, the two kind of major categories of AI we have is the chat bots, the large language models, which you can chat with. Or you can have image generation. And so you have image generation models which let you illustrate your own posts. So you write a message, you include an image generation model, and you can uh, chat with them. So let me just actually show you that. So I'm not just talking over the screen. Um, but essentially, so this is the public stream in TreeChat AI, and we'll get to that in a sec. But just to demonstrate the AIs, I'll do this in a private thread, so I'm not polluting the public stream for everybody. But
Oh,
essentially,
so how? What's the difference? What's how you got two streams? How did you do that?
yeah, so basically what I did was just to show you that again. So I was in the public stream and I hit this is the new thread button right here.
Where's that?
It's right here. You see me moving the mouse?
Oh, okay.
This
Is this
blue
at the
one right
bottom?
here. Yeah, at the bottom. So the whole navigation happens from the bottom here, and I can navigate to anywhere from the bottom.
For some reason,
Uh,
we're not seeing. I'm not seeing that whole screen. Maybe you could make it a little smaller or something. I'm thinking why I'm not seeing the entire screen. Let's think
that's
here.
let me see if I can do it here.
Okay, there we go. Now I see. Now I see the
All right.
bottom.
Okay,
Yep.
I was in the progressive web app
So on
version.
the
So
left there is the
yeah,
on the
so let me
right. I see post. Then I see red.
yeah, I'm just gonna refresh the page so I can clear it out. Okay, here we go. So this is on topic.
Now I don't see. Now I don't see the bottom, but I saw it before. So that's
You don't see the bottom now?
no. Maybe it's a zoom function or the screen's too large.
That's so weird.
Try try doing a, size reduction. Here, I'll
Yeah, yeah, let me.
okay, got it. Yep.
Cool. So let me just see if I can
Censor this.
yeah. So okay, so you see the nav bar now?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So essentially what we have here is we have three panels. This is the desktop version. On the mobile, you would just see one. And you can have many different panels, so you can be multitasking with different streams or different capabilities at the same time. So that's we can talk a little bit more about that later. But right, this is the public stream right now. And so you can see I can scroll through this stream and there's just, it's much like a, Twitter stream or a Facebook stream or any of these social network feeds. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this new thread button. I'm going to press this new thread button. And you see that puts me into a new thread dialog where I can write. But what's cool about this is that when I did that, I didn't lose the context that I was in. It just like added to it. So if I want, I can come back to this thread, you see? So I can
Hmm.
switch between them. So it's very nice for like multitasking or asynchronous like reading. And so now I could be like scrolling the screen and writing a message. Or maybe if I wanted to search for something while I wrote my message, I could hit the search button and it opens up a new panel for me to search in. Uh, and then I can still come back to my new thread dialog, or I can come back to the public stream. So I can switch between these very easily, you see?
Yeah.
So,
Would that become private where it says public there? Could you make it private? Is that what that
yeah,
means?
exactly. So what I started saying was that for this demo, I'll make this a home thread, and your home threads are essentially they were private by default until you invite someone to them. So if I wanted to invite like arg zero to this thread, I could, but it's by default it's private, and so I can take like notes. I can do everything I can do in public in a home thread that's private. So let's see. So essentially, what I started saying is you can invite a chatbot or a large language model to the conversation. So we have like many models that you can invite from XAI, from X, the Google Gemini models, the GPTs, the Claudes. You can choose any of these. So we can just I selected. You can see that I selected GPT 4o, and we can start chatting with him. Or- And so then he'll respond. Um, and so I can continue.
Huh.
So this essentially is like the AI chat functionality in a private thread, but I could do the same thing in public. So there's people can be having this conversation in public, and it all gets written on chain. Other people can read it. Other people can add on to it. So this is the chat with AI and the chat with humans part.
Okay, you skipped over something about an on-chain. Now, I saw a thread that you posted on Twitter about this
Mhm.
that I really want you to explain. I think you shared it with me. And
Yep.
can you take me through, walk me through some of that? Because you mentioned it's on-chain,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's not
So
something that I've ever heard before about being,
So every post in the public stream, so if we start a new thread and now let's keep it public.
yeah,
Um
this is on-chain.
yeah. So you
This is
can see there's
on-chain.
this little loader icon here, and eventually it turns into a block. And you can see when I now hover over it, it gives you it's unconfirmed transaction. And so because we have to wait for it to be mined, but essentially this message was submitted on chain to the miners as part of posting on TreeChat. That happens with every public message. And so now when we click on this, we're actually taken to the block explorer, and you can see that there's two outputs, one of which is this bitcom output, and it's you have to decode it, so we can
Well,
use the TreeChat Bmap viewer to decode it. But basically, the Bmap basically gives you a JSON version of that data, so it's somewhat readable. And you can see this content is on chain, app TreeChat type post. So you can see that this data that I wrote here.
oh yeah, this is on-chain.
This is on chain.
That went on the blockchain.
Yeah, so this is now when this is confirmed. Right now, it's not confirmed quite yet, but on average, in 10 minutes, this will be written to the blockchain, and uh, and then it's there.
So
Um,
let me just say, like, let's say I wanted to write a blog, and I want to say, I want to write a blog about this, and how would that work? I guess just like what you're doing. I mean, that could be a blog post, right? I
yeah,
guess.
yeah. This is so. We are you can write whatever you want. We are optimized for like threaded the medium is threaded. So like a blog post from my perspective on TreeChat would look something like again, so I just switched to the home stream just so again I'm not polluting the public stream. But essentially it would look something like, you know, um TreeChat's impact on Bitcoin, and so this might be like the title of the blog. And then I would, each paragraph would get a message. So, some paragraph.
Hmm.
So that's how I would write it. But you could put it all in one message if you wanted to. So you could say like another paragraph and then another one. So you could write like this. It's really up to you. So yeah, and so this whole thread uh, you know, becomes whatever writing you want to do. The reason that I like to split it up into separate messages is because so this is where TreeChat gets its namesake from, is because each message in TreeChat actually can turn into a new thread. So for example, like let's say I'm writing this TreeChat's impact on Bitcoin and I write some paragraph, I can click on this message and you can see it opens up a new thread, and you can see like that this sum paragraph is the same thing as this. So now we have some paragraph and we know that its parent, so this is the parent, is TreeChat's impact on Bitcoin. Here's this, here is that. So if that makes sense. So you see, like I clicked on some paragraph and it opens up a new thread for me. And now I
Yeah.
can it makes it so that this new thread's title is whatever message I clicked on. And now I can, for example, like let's say I want to give like uh evidence one for whatever I said in here. Evidence two, or maybe I want to draw a picture like illustrate this, you know. And so when I do that, then I'll create an image. So this is another AI capability. So this is what where TreeChat gets its name from is it's this infinitely branching. Like let's say I have evidence one and I click on it, and then I'm like, oh, like there's a counterclaim or whatever, you know. So I have this branching structure that I can participate in, and then I can always kind of go back up the tree. So I can like tree chat's impact. Let me just reload this. There we go. So like if I'm here, I can come back up the tree. You know, I click on some paragraph. It lets me know this is that, and I click on tree chat's impact. You see, so it's this branching structure that lets you really, that's where the deep conversation piece comes in. It really lets you delve into different pieces of the conversation. So like maybe I can give you maybe I can find a branch, a tree for to explore in the public stream. So here's an example. Um, so here there's a conversation happening about video games, and we see that this message is actually part of a parent thread. That's why we have this little button right here, and we have this is the parent that it's from, and I can actually click here, and it takes me to this message in its parent context, and you can see
Hmm.
like, and you can see that you know this message, thanks for the reply. So this is the parent thread. Here it is, thanks for the reply. So in other words, this message is part of this thread, which is this thread right here. And you can see there's all of these other messages happening. So it's a little bit of a novel idea and a novel construct, but it's once you get used to it, it's very nice to be able to like
It's
dig into.
organized, it looks like,
Yeah.
if once you understand it.
Yeah. So again, so you can see here, let me click on the parent here. And so this all started with uh,
How would you design a game?
exactly. How would you design a game? So this is the top level. So you can see how would you design a game? So let me actually, yeah, so you can see here. So how would you design a game? So just the Zergling answered that. Then someone clicked on it and added two messages. You can see this little two. It tells you that this in the branch, it has two messages. Here are those messages. This branch, someone clicked on this and answered, this has five. Here are those five. You see? So it tells you like where the branch is. And so what it gives you like a new thread whenever you want to discuss some particular message. So here's this, you see, and so you can kind of like traverse these branches and because otherwise what would happen is you can imagine like let's come back. By the way, like the fact that I can swipe between these is very nice also. So like just again, this is the panel structure. Again, once you get a handle on it, it gets much easier. I know, like seeing it for the first time, it's like I'm doing a lot of stuff that that are unfamiliar, but once you start using it, it's quite powerful to be able to context switch like this.
Yeah. So it sounds
But
like they're
essentially,
posting on, go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say at first when you start posting, just defaults to your typical like post. You're in the public stream, you just you start a post, you write whatever you want. So it's not like if you don't even have to branch if you don't want to, if you're not comfortable with that. So the initial experience is very much like any social network. You're in a stream, you post a message, and off you go. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so
So it also it sounds like it looks like it's on chain, and then there's costs involved. Are they paid in Sats, and then how does that work with?
Yeah, so like I said, every message here that in any branch or basically anywhere in the public stream, it actually gets written on chain. So you can see this is a confirmed transaction. If I just hover, this is unconfirmed. So this will be confirmed a little later, probably.
So if I
Um,
click on a confirmed transaction right there, will it?
yeah.
Yeah, let's see what it says.
Yeah. So
Now,
330 informations.
will it? Okay, yeah, okay. TreeChat Bmap. What does that
Yeah.
say?
If we look at the TreeChat Bmap viewer, you can see the content, the
Oh,
just randomized
so
every.
so that is like, when Satoshi wrote on the first block, oh hey, about that 2009 article. That's
Yep.
basically what you're doing right here.
Yes, pretty much. So there's this when Satoshi wrote that, the Bmap protocol didn't exist. So I'm using a particular protocol that essentially lets you it makes it so that other apps that are familiar with this protocol can actually read this data also and can
How
decode.
come how come I haven't heard much about people writing things on the chain? It seems like that was forgotten a long time ago. That's just it seems like that was like
Um,
at the very beginning he wrote that, but then it was like,
yeah.
how come
I'm
not?
not sure. There's some debate about whether Bitcoin should be used to write arbitrary data on chain. In my opinion, I think it's a very powerful use case for Bitcoin SV, and I think that the community and miners should embrace this use case and try to give developers the opportunity to do it because it's something that separates Bitcoin SV from other blockchains in that the fees are so cheap and that you can actually do this and write data in a decentralized manner. I think that's a very powerful use case that, again, just raises this blockchain above others. So I'm all for it. And I think that Twetch and Hodlocker are actually two social networks that also use this protocol. And that's why we were able to actually index the blockchain and find their content and actually show it in TreeChat. So let me go back to where you can see the nav bar. But basically, we have this at the bottom. All the controls are at the bottom here. So if anytime I want to navigate, I just click this little TreeChat icon in the center, and it gives me which streams I want to go to. So we've looked at the home stream, the public stream, but because Hodlocker and Twetch wrote their content on chain, we were actually able to index this content and show it. And so you can see this is Hodlocker, which actually shut down, but the people who wrote this data can still come and see their content uh, because it was on chain. And same thing with Twitch. We were able to resuscitate this content and basically show Twitch content on chain. And this is only possible because it's on chain, like because it was on a public database, we were able to index that database. And the same thing is true for TreeChat because we're writing what our users are writing their content on chain. uh, if we ever shut down or go out of business or whatever, their content still lives on outside of a proprietary database. It's written on the public blockchain. And so this is what I mean when I say that users own their data, is that they're not reliant on, a corporate entity to house their content. Their data lives on chain, and if they ever want to access it, it's not totally free. That there would have to be software development done for another client to be built or whatever, but it would only be the front end that would have to be built. The actual database part is public and on chain. And so this is, I think we've demonstrated with Hodlocker and Twetch, that this can be done, and we actually have a working kind of example of what it means to have a decentralized social network. We have kind of put that into practice, that theory into practice. Everyone talks about, oh, it's decentralized, it's this and that, but here we actually did the work and showed that yes, these social networks are no longer around, but the data that people wrote on chain, here it is. And so we demonstrated that.
Right. So it looks like you're leveraging peer-to-peer communication between the users. So each user he posts that goes on chain and then the fee goes to the other user. Is that right?
So yeah, so that's kind of a separate concept. What I'm talking about is that, well, the first part of what you said is right, is that what I'm showing is, so is a Twitch stream. So this data was written by the Twitch application on chain, and we're able to show it because it was on a public database. And when Twitch's proprietary database shut down, this data still lived. Now, what
Mm.
you're mentioning in the kind of rewards, I think, is what you meant, right?
Yeah.
So the rewards, let me get into that. So we have probably a month and a half ago or something, 2 months ago, we released something called Up Value. So if I actually go to the public stream again, um, so essentially every every message that's written on chain in the public stream, it has this little up value button. And what this does is whenever I see something that I like, so you can see this message, someone upvalued this message 1500 sats. And if I like it, I can just, you know, spam this up value button and I just upvalued 60,000 sats. So what this does is it lets me reward the content that I like. So let me find another. So maybe I like this content. So I'm going to reward this content. So you can see that, this used to be 69,000 and now so Pixel upvalued at 69,000 and I upvalued 50,000 sats.
So does it have like a chart, leaderboard where the most app valued content, something like that, would be would be the
Yeah,
most valuable
so
content?
we're working on that. So not quite yet, but we're working
Okay.
on
But that's
leaderboard.
a thought in your mind, like, oh, this is the
Yeah,
most
yeah, we're working
upvalued
towards that.
content could be the most valuable and popular content,
Exactly,
a
exactly.
leaderboard or something.
We have hot and top filters. So we actually do have so this is hot now because I just upvalued it. So we are doing this, and we have the
Top.
top filter in public. So it's not quite ready yet. So it's still kind of in a it still needs a few iterations before we before it looks like what I want it to look like, which is what you're talking about, which is that you can identify the most valuable content in the system, in the world,
So
and
how do
essentially.
people like a newbie get on here and then do they need to get a wallet or is it
So
on
that's the
like
really nice thing about this is
yeah.
that the way we did it was we actually generate a wallet for you right as you sign up, so you don't need to do anything. And then you can either fund that wallet if you are already part of the Bitcoin ecosystem, or you can just start posting and earn the Bitcoin that you would need to upvalue other people's stuff. So those are the two ways. But you don't like there's no barrier to you signing on and to start posting. And in fact, the sooner people start posting, the sooner they'll start earning a little bit of upvalue, a little bit of uh, Satoshis. So the reason when I said was like why Bitcoin SV, right? Like what is it? Why did we choose Bitcoin SV for this platform? It's because there's two reasons really. The one is what we just talked about is that you can write the data, arbitrary data to chain, and the it's inexpensive enough that it makes sense for most content, maybe not video, but we'll get to that. But essentially, we can write all of this data on chain, and so you get this decentralized social network idea, like we talked about with Cloudlocker, Twitch, and now TreeChat, where you own the data, and you're not dependent on a proprietary platform to have the content that you create. But the other reason is because we can send 10,000 sats per post. I mean, if you think about it, this 10,000 sats, it's like I can actually show you what it is. It's 0.003 cents. Okay. So it's like a very
Sounds like a
small
lot,
thing.
but it's not.
What's that?
It sounds like a lot, but it's not.
Yeah, because it's Satoshi's, a Satoshi
Yeah.
is one. one hundred millionth of a Bitcoin. So it's very small amounts of money. So the barrier to liking something with that money is extremely low. And so it becomes like a playful thing. It doesn't become like a thing. Like imagine if this was running on MasterCard and every like was 30 cents. I wouldn't be as likely to spam this up value button. So what it allows you to just like start swinging sats back and forth, which is like I think it's a very powerful experience when you're posting and um, you're seeing that someone actually values, even if it's with a small amount, someone is actually valuing what you're creating. And in aggregate at scale, this can add up. So like think about how much time you spend on your, Twitter or on any social network. Over if you were earning a little bit that whole time, it actually starts to become meaningful. And not only that, what it does, it's not the absolute amounts that matter so much. It's actually in how the content does in relation to each other. So it allows us to rank the content, like you mentioned. So you can start having like, okay, what's the most valuable content for in the system or for some topic or in this thread or whatever. And so, or for when you're searching, like, so when you're searching, the up value can be a weight. So you can see like what's the most valuable content for your search query. So it lets us start instead of relying on like a proprietary social network algorithm to tell you what to look at, you have a market-driven algorithm that essentially is fed by the user's own values. Literally, they're valuing stuff, and then the best stuff is rising to the top. So that's kind of what we're not only decentralizing the storage and we're not only rewarding creators, but we're trying to solve for, okay, like what should we as people be looking at? And I think the answer should be we as people can use the market to decide that. And it takes the algorithm out of the hands of any particular man or company, then puts it into the actual user's power and user's decision. And
So when I
yeah.
post something, do I pay to post something?
Nope, you don't pay to post. Another great reason why Bitcoin SV is so great for this is because, again, to post, it's so cheap. So we subsidize the fee. So up to 5 MB, we will subsidize the posting, and so that basically means that it basically means that any message we will subsidize besides big videos, what it
Okay.
works out in practice.
And how does TreeChat how is TreeChat what is your like I'm going to stop the screen share here. What is your plan for TreeChat like for let's say yeah, is it a bit is it an LLC? Is it a corporation? What is it? An association? How did you structure it?
No, it's a company. Right now it's an
It's a
LLC. Yeah,
LLC. Okay.
we'll see if we need to incorporate like
Yeah.
in a more sophisticated way later. But yeah, we're a company. I have a partner, Arg Zero on TreeChat, and we're building it together. So
So what is your goal with it? I mean, like as a company.
our goal is to rank the world's information in a market-driven way and let people own their own data and let people reward each other for creating valuable content to get out of this uh, doom scrolling loop that we all find ourselves in. And essentially, we want to use AI to empower creators and to empower them to be rewarded for their work and to have the best conversations possible. So those are all of our goals.
And have you considered your revenue? Like, I mean, I'm just wondering about the long-term viability of it, like in the revenue model. Is it going to earn money from the posts or
Yes, it is. Yep. So
okay,
what we're doing is on every up value and probably so on every up value we take 15% at the moment. So essentially, and as we grow, that number will drop, but that's where we have to start right now. So the essentially all of the money that flows through TreeChat, uh, we're going to take some percentage of. And what that does is that means that we don't have to rely on advertising. And it means that we make money when people value the content on the platform. So our incentives are extremely aligned. And I like to talk about like a situation where, um, it's possible that we'll actually make more money the less someone uses TreeChat in the moment. So, for example, you can imagine situation I go and like want to find some specific set of content, and that actually has to be fast. And so if I go and I find it, but I value that content very highly, I upvalue it high, and we'll make more money the faster that happens. So we're disconnecting kind of the like, oh, we have to engage you, we have to get the engagement at any cost, and we have to, so what that means is that like we don't have to make you mad, we don't have to make you angry. It's just, did you value this content and how much? And then if you did, then we make money, and if you didn't, then we don't. And so the users and the platform's incentives are much more aligned, and we're not beholden to advertisers. We are very against advertising. We think that our users' attention is sacred. So this is what I mean. So like we wanna virtue scroll as opposed to doom scroll. So we wanna have you value the content that you're seeing.
Okay, so the ad, you're not supporting the ad model clearly because that's none of this stuff is through ads. It's all through up value. It sounds like
Yeah.
so. All right, is there a phone? Is there a phone app or is it a web app on your phone or how does it work?
So there right now we have both the iOS app and the Android app in beta. So you can actually, if you go to treechat.ai, you'll see, the corresponding icons. You can click on them, and it will just take you to install the beta apps. For iOS, for anyone familiar with the iOS ecosystem, you'll have to have Test Flight installed for now. But we are soon going out and releasing it into the App Store more generally. But for now, if you want to use it, just download Test Flight and then go to treechat.ai and sign up. And it's the app. It works nice. You get notifications, and it's fun to get up value notifications.
Nice. Okay, so now on a separate note, let me ask you, do you know, have you heard anything about AI agent and what that is, or if it has any relevance at all to tree chat at all? So what is AI agent? It's a big
AI
buzzword.
agents is essentially a way of using AI where the AI kind of exhibits agency, meaning it goes off on its own without intervention from the user. So it's kind of like you release an agent and to do some task, and it can kind of plan and execute a series of actions, not just one thing. So for example, one example of this is maybe like a research agent. So instead of just doing a single query, it will do a query, evaluate that the content that comes back, and maybe ask another question based on the content. Maybe it's missing some data, or it is curious about something, and it will basically, it's an AI that takes actions on its own to some extent. So that's what an AI agent is. So we have kind of AI agent functionality. Um, we have something called Tree Search, which that does this, and it will go and like do some research and summarize some things. And then any other AI agent functionality that is interesting to us, we can integrate into the platform. We integrate lots of AI capabilities. So if there's interesting stuff, or if you see something that you find interesting, just let us know, and we'll probably integrate it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there's a potential conference that's going to be coming up about AI agent in Silicon Valley that, I may be a part of hosting. So in the next couple months. So I just wanted to plug it with you. I had never heard of it before till I heard about this potential conference. So sounds like
Okay.
you're up to speed on it, and it might. And I mean, it's like the idea of using it on the blockchain. That's the whole like AI agent on the chain.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where maybe can you comment on that? Like what I got AI agent. but it's different now with blockchain, right? So what's the
Right.
use of it on blockchain?
I'm not sure what the specific conference you're talking about is talking about. The way what I would think, one thing I would think where it's useful is uh, essentially you can imagine like an AI agent going off to do something on its own, and you want to share uh, in a decentralized way what steps it took, for example. That's one way. So if there's some AI agent and there's like many companies relying on the work of that AI agent, maybe they want to audit the actions that it took. And because it's taking actions outside of human control to some extent, in its mandate, then you might want to be able to audit the log of those actions and things like that. So that can be useful just as for auditing,
I
just,
see.
they're useful for auditing.
What were its findings? What research was it done? And
Yeah,
all could be
exactly. So,
published
yeah,
on chain. That way it could be auditable,
right.
see if it was
Yep.
accurate or not.
Yeah, so that's one thing. Another thing, and this is actually something that we're also working on, is so I talked about up value and how we might monetize that, but we can also monetize all of the AIs that we've integrated by basically charging people per request. And so if you really think about the current services, they're all like per month. They're all basically software as a service per month. You're paying like $10 for this one, $10 for this one, and that can start to add up. And some of them you never use that much. And so what we can do is, again, thanks to Bitcoin SV, is we can actually charge a tiny amount per request. So like cents. So maybe like this image, this AI chat message is like half a cent, and then this image generation is like 30 cents. Those are about the prices. So we can do this and charge you per request. And so then you can choose whatever model you want, and it becomes very cheap to try many different models and then we would just take a fee on top of that as the provider of that service. And so that's another way we can make money. And the same is probably true for this AI agent endeavor that you're talking about is that so like the thing is you don't know ahead of time how much work the AI agent is going to do. And so you really want to charge like per amount of work as opposed to some giant fee per month or whatever. So you can do this with the blockchain is you can basically, you know, you can audit the log and then charge for how much work was done, how much work is in that log.
Nice. Okay. Well, this is great, Dimitri. I think it's a great overview. Sounds like any closing thoughts you want to add?
Yeah, just come try TreeChat, post something, and earn some up value. And I think that it's a very interesting experience. There's nothing quite like it. You can um, have your words be written on the blockchain. If you value your words, get up value and write them on a blockchain. I think that it's very cutting edge. That's what I'll say. We're living in the future,
So
and
yeah, I mean, it really is because it's amazing because I value some of these blogs wrote, let's say 10 or 12 years ago, and they're gone now. Unfortunately, when the
right.
blog platform had went out of business, and it would be great, moving forward now if I could have all that permanently embedded on chain.
Yep,
I guess that
exactly.
this, I guess the real, the beauty of it is like our history will never be forgotten, if we do this
Yeah.
in a long-term visionary way. Like, they cannot delete to say I was never here, uh, delete my existence. I wasn't here. I was here. I made this on the blockchain. Here's my
Right.
post.
Well, yeah, so I think that if you have a market of ideas and you have a place to write those ideas and then to rank them with a market, you can have a decentralized history of what's happening, right? So like for later generations can look at the blockchain, look at that record and see like what ideas were popular, what events were impactful. So it's almost like you can imagine like a timeline and then you have like a stock graph over the events over the timeline. So it's a very powerful tool just like civilizationally and for
Right.
recording.
And I guess it doesn't really run out because isn't that right? Because if they're even when they stop mining blocks, people will still be able to transact in Satoshis on chain. Is that correct? It will never stop. Like there's never now that the blockchain is here,
Yeah. So it's a little bit more complex than that because there's some conversations and some debate about like pruning blocks and things like this. So um, what I would say is that I think that the fact that it's the timestamp server, the transaction is hashed, and even if something is pruned, it's uh, it's still in the it can still be verified. You can still verify that the transaction and its hash happened. And so what it is definitely is a timestamp server. There's some debate about whether the data will be there forever, but it doesn't, once you have the timestamp server and any copy of storage, so whether it's on the blockchain or maybe on IPFS or on torrent or whatever, so now you've proved that this data existed at that time. So we're and then you can imagine services. You can even pay miners to not prune things. So it really the storage piece is a little bit more complicated, but the timestamp server part is it basically proves that that content existed at that time. And if any copy of that content exists anywhere, you have what you need. You have a history of that record.
right, you
And
could verify that this was what happened, that piece of content at that time. There's no
yes,
doubt about it.
exactly.
Like when the guy wrote the white paper, there
Yep.
were if that was in there. So yeah, that's amazing. I mean, really, it's fascinating, man. I mean, what do you think people should expect from this? I mean, it seems like it's so early in a way, even though we're so
Yeah.
far into Bitcoin, but like this concept that you're talking about now, uh, seems really early, man. Because the AI is now out, it's
Yeah.
pretty new, and
Yeah. It
what do
is
you think
it's
this is?
super early, but I think you can already start to see kind of people having the conversations about like who owns my data and who decides what I'm seeing and these kinds of things. And I mean, even Elon made his algorithm open source, but the truth is that he still has control over it. And he has a lot of power over what you see, and people lose their accounts all the time and lose their data, therefore lose their content all the time. So this is like these are you can see these issues that we're working on addressing start bubbling to the top. And I think as people become more aware that hey, like why would I sell my attention to advertising companies? Why would I give up my content to these giant platforms when I could be the owner of my content? I could be the owner of my attention. I could be being rewarded for the quality content that I'm putting out. And not only that, it's just like if there's an incentive for you, if you know when you're posting that you might someone might value what you put out, well, the bar for your content is immediately raised. So you might not
Spam the network or do or bots. Yeah, are you able to filter out bots on this network where they have bots?
That's something that is not a problem yet for us, just because at the scale that we're at. But obviously, as we grow, this is something that we're going to have to deal with. And again, I think blockchain has or Bitcoin has a role to play here. So I don't want to get into exactly how that might be because it's not a problem that we have to solve yet. But I think it will help solve that problem as well, in improving human identity and in raising the cost of spam and all of these kinds of things that blockchains are good at.
Nice. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. You mentioned that you think that Bitcoin, is digital gold, but you mean that even Bitcoin SV is digital gold, or like what was your? And then you mentioned kind of in context that what was your theory on that?
Yeah, well, this is more theoretical, like philosophical, but so basically, the way that I look at it is imagine if Bitcoin SV didn't exist and we just had Bitcoin Core, right? So the fact that we have a deflationary asset is actually an upgrade, and a digital deflationary asset is actually an upgrade,
From fiat.
or yeah, from fiat, exactly. So it's still an upgrade. It's not like it's not nothing. And so, but the problem with it is, and the reason why it is not good enough is because when you want to send small amounts, because you still have to basically you're priced out of sending small amounts, you still need to start getting third party and layer two solutions where the middleman starts gaining a foothold to control. They can even start inflating um, the currency by, for example, if you look back at the example of like the Bank of England, gold was also a deflationary currency with somewhat of a hard cap. Not, it wasn't deflationary, but it was very low inflation, right? But and they still inflated the amount of paper gold because there was middlemen and people would put their gold in a bank because they couldn't send it, and so you essentially had like fractional reserve banking where people would create paper versions of gold that they would then inflate. So the paper amount of gold was higher than the actual gold, and so you can't escape that situation even with a digital gold like Bitcoin Core, because as soon as you start getting these middlemen, these which you need to send small amounts, so
Yeah.
people will flock to them because it's very convenient to send small amounts. But what Bitcoin SV does is it solves all of those problems. So now you have the Bitcoin, the 21 million hard
Digital
cap Bitcoin.
gold aspect.
Yeah, but then you can also send it very cheaply. So there's no reason for me to go out to a company to send money to you, right? I can just send it to you on the blockchain. So what happens, the ultimate innovation here is that you can send the reserve asset peer to peer. So the reserve asset meaning like it's Bitcoin. There's nothing above it. Bitcoin is the settlement asset. And so you can send that peer to peer extremely cheaply. So there's no need for another infrastructure that can then come in and control anything.
Right.
That's why people are mad at this blockchain, or that's why it's suppressed, because it cuts the
That's
middleman
why
out.
that like the mainstream news, they hate this blockchain, right? And they hate Craig Wright, they hate BSV, and it's the
Right,
most hated thing ever.
right.
It's crazy. Like
Because
as a
yeah,
newbie, you look at it, you're like, so you're telling me that Luna, the Terra Luna that I was in was, and that was a scam that I lost a bunch of money in, and that's still okay, and it doesn't, and it's on all these exchanges, but this over
yeah.
here is
No,
is
it's the most threatening one, and that makes it both a challenge and an opportunity. So, and yeah, I think building for the Bitcoin SV community is very interesting because it's a contrarian, truth-seeking community, and that's actually aligned with the kind of what I think a social network should be. I think the best use case for a social network is actually for sharing valuable information. And
Mhm.
I think that the more tr information that models reality better is more valuable, in my opinion. And so I think that we should create mechanisms for identifying that information and incentivizing that information.
Thank you, Dimitri, for what you do, man. This is great. Everyone, check out TreeChat.ai and follow Dimitri on X on your X account, which is also TreeChat.ai. Is that right?
Yeah, TreeChat AI. Yep.
TreeChat AI on X. So, all right, Dimitri, great to have
Awesome.
you, man. We'll see you at the top. Thanks for coming in.
Awesome. Thanks, Gavin.
See you at the
Yep.
top, everyone.